Muslim blood that was shed under the hands of your religion is not cheap. In fact, their blood is the purest blood because there's a nation behind them inherits revenge. And we swear to Allah, the one who disgraced you by our hands, you will not have safety.
That was a new video released by ISIS on April 19th showing the terrorists killing two groups of Ethiopian Christians in Libya. Welcome to Steve Malzberg Show. I'm Rick Unger filling in for Steve as he's off on assignment. We're going to be joined now by Rabbi Shmuley, as we call him. He is known as America's Rabbi and is the founder of the Jewish Values Networks. Rabbi, I want to talk to you about a piece that you wrote regarding anti-Semitism taking place on American college campuses. But first, I have to ask you to respond to the video we all just watched.
There's an attempted ISIS genocide against Christians. They're trying to kill every Christian. Now, people will say, oh, it's not a genocide because they're giving them the option to live under subjugation and pay the jizya tax. No, they are trying to slaughter the Middle East Christians. And the world just yawns and looks aside, and it's astonishing. We live in an era where mass murder and the slaughter of innocents has become so commonplace and so everyday that it doesn't even elicit a response. I mean, isn't it amazing to see a video like that where they actually portray, quite literally, the ocean turning red, and people do nothing? It's a sad commentary on the state of affairs in our society that this doesn't even shock us.
Where I agree with you is that we're all sitting by and doing nothing. I'm not entirely sure I agree that we're yawning, because I think we see that and we go, oh my God, that's unbelievably horrible. But the question is, what are we going to do about it? Do you think we are getting at least close to the point where the world is going to say, and when I say the world, of course, I include the United States, no more, no more. We are going to have to respond to this in the harshest possible way. We can't just sit here and look at these tapes. Are we getting there?
Absolutely not. I wish. Are we getting there? We have a president who has no hatred of evil. He will negotiate with any brutal, wicked regime on earth without even demanding that they change their human rights records. Are we getting there? President Obama is about to sign a nuclear deal with Iran, who hangs people every day, that stones women to death, that calls for the annihilation of 6 million Jews in Israel, and he doesn't even say to them, look, we can't really continue these negotiations until you stop that. Are we getting there, that we care about fighting evil? Give me a break. Right, we are so far from that.
I get your point of view.
No, I'll make another point. This week is the 100th centenary of the Armenian genocide. Do you know that President Obama, as a senator, swore to the Armenian community and to the world that he would recognize the Armenian genocide? Do you know that he condemned previous presidents as a senator who did not recognize the genocide? And now, for 6 years running, he has broken his promise. He won't even recognize the genocide because he wants to appease the Turkish tyrant, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who has single-handedly dismantled Turkish democracy. And are we getting there about fighting wickedness? We're doing deals with them.
Right,
we are making deals with
them.
Let
me get in here. Okay, so I think we're all clear on how you feel about the United States reaction. But as you yourself said, the world is standing by and doing nothing. We're not the only country in the world. What's it going to take for other nations to stand up, even if you believe that our president has no desire to do so? I don't entirely agree with that, but I hear what you're saying. What about other countries? Where are they?
Wait a second. I never said that the United States doesn't want to do anything. I said our president is overlooking.
Fine. What about
this.
other countries?
I think the American people have the most deep-seated sense of morality. We are the greatest country on earth. I think this stuff sickens us. I think we're kind of astonished that our president allows the world to continue to burn and be on fire. Now, I'm not saying that Americans want troops on the ground.
We get it.
I'm not saying Americans want the troops on the ground, but wait a second. When you say the rest of the world, we're the world's leader. We're the world's sole superpower. The world's going to follow our lead. If we overlook evil and ISIS and only use an air campaign and not try to galvanize the world to stop them, let alone to stop what created them, which is President Assad of Syria slaughtering his own people. And let's not pretend that ISIS just emerged. They emerged in a vacuum created by the 200,000 people killed by Assad. If America doesn't lead, the rest of the world is not going to follow.
Okay, so you're letting the rest of the world off the hook.
No, but Rick, you want to separate between American leadership abrogation of
No,
responsibility.
I heard your point, Rabbi. You're filibustering. Let me ask you the questions. I understand you're talking about President Obama. I get it. But when I ask you about the rest of the world, you seem to be saying that, well, no, I'm going to let them off the hook. I give them a pass because they'll only do things with American leadership. I have some trouble with that. They can act on their own. Why aren't they?
Well, of course they can, but they use our inaction as an excuse. They know that we have the most deep-seated sense of morality, much more than Europe, that has kind of overlooked these atrocities for the longest time. Let's just remember how many genocides took place on European soil, whether it was Turkey and the Ottomans, and whether it was the Holocaust and the Jews, whether it was former Yugoslavia, Kosovo, etc. So unfortunately, Europe's grown almost inured to these genocides.
All right,
we in the United States have that moral outrage. Now, if we're not outraged, the rest of the world is going to look at our inaction. I'm not absolving them of responsibility. Of course they have to do something, but I'm an American. I'm not, I'm not a European, and I have to deal with my country, and I have to kind of galvanize us to do something. We are the ones who cannot overlook these atrocities because we are the most moral and righteous nation on earth. And if we overlook it, other nations are going to use our inaction as an excuse to be inactive themselves.
All right, let me switch gears on you because I really do want to talk about this piece you wrote. I thought it was fascinating. You basically made the case as to why we are experiencing an epidemic of anti-Semitism, of Jew hatred at American colleges. That's pretty disturbing. Lay out the basis of your claim.
Well, the New York Times itself has done 2 front-page stories over the past, say, 2 months alone about how at UCLA and now at Stanford, students who were running for student government, Jewish students, were asked about their Jewishness and how it would affect policy. Could you imagine that? At least the New York Times, give them credit, they were able to call this out on their page 1 and say, whoa, could you imagine if an African-American student was saying, you're black, how is that going to affect policy? Or if we ask a student of some other ethnicity, you're a Native American, how's that going to affect? We would say, wait a second. The whole idea of an egalitarian education is that we never ask these questions, let alone students for justice in Palestine with their fraudulent claims. They take over campus after campus, fraudulent claims, Israel, apartheid, etc. So there's so much animus towards the Jewish state. And let's not separate between anti-Semitism on the one hand.
Well, that's the point I want to get to. That's the point, and we've only got now like 15 seconds. This is really all about animus towards the Jewish state and how people may be feeling in college about Palestine. Is that
really? Can you really separate between the two? If they're calling for boycotts of Israel because of its occupation of the West Bank, where's the boycott? Where's the boycott of iPhones, which are made in China, which has occupied Tibet since 1951? Where's the call for boycotts of all things Turkish, who've been occupying Cyprus since 1974?
Okay, Rabbi, I got to wrap you up. We're out of time.
Meaning there's double standards.
And since you're having such a hard time giving us your point of view, Rabbi Shmuley, always fun to have you on. You always have something to say. Coming up next, the Malzberg panel, where I'm going to be joined by my friends Jessica Tarlov and Ford O'Connell. Stay tuned. You're going to want to hear this one.
Hello, I'm Miranda Kahn. Jurors are back in a Boston courtroom today to decide the fate of convicted terrorist Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Prosecutors call on the jury to give Tsarnaev the death penalty. The 21-year-old was recently convicted of 30 federal charges in connection with the Boston Marathon bombing back in 2013. Cable executives from Comcast and Time Warner are set to meet with officials at the Justice Department tomorrow. They want federal regulators to allow a $45 billion merger. Bluebell expands a recent recall to include all of its products. This after inspections found listeria in the company's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. Police in Ohio scrambled to rescue these cows that were stranded on a highway. The livestock spilled onto the road after a tractor trailer transporting the cows turned on its side. That was your very latest Newsmax Now update. More coming your way at the top of the hour.